If you clicked on this video, there's a good chance you may be trying or have tried to lose body fat, but the usual routines just haven't stuck. And maybe cardio on the treadmill bores you to death. Or maybe lifting heavy weights feel intimidating and unsafe. And then you looked at calisthenics and all of these amazing bodyweight movements and you immediately think, I'm just too heavy to start this. Well, I'm here to tell you that you're definitely not too heavy, and not only it is possible for you to start right now, but using your own body weight is one of the safest, most effective, and most rewarding ways to start your fitness journey, no matter what the scale says right now. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the exact roadmap to do this. Here is what we're going to cover. First, we'll talk about the real starting point and how to safely begin calisthenics when you have extra weight with zero shame and maximum efficiency. Then we'll talk about the 20-pound blueprint, the simple, powerful combination of a healthy diet and bodyweight training that can help you drop 20 pounds way faster than you think. Then we'll talk about the body fat myth. We'll dive into what's the ideal body fat percentage and why you don't need to be 8% body fat to be a calisthenics badass. Then we'll cover the ultimate beginner workout plan. We'll break down the fundamental movements and I'll show you exactly how to create your own effective workout schedule with no expensive gym needed. Finally, we'll talk about how long it takes to see tangible results with calisthenics as a beginner. So if you're ready to stop making excuses and start building a foundation of strength that will last for a lifetime, then let's dive in. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss the first tip. Today, we're going to talk about how to get started with calisthenics if you're overweight. I've sometimes heard people say, I think I need to lose weight before I can get started with calisthenics. And that's because people think they need to be able to do an amazing pull-up, to do an amazing push-up, and to do amazing superhuman movements right away. But that's really not the case. Actually, it's the opposite. When you start and you do calisthenics, this will make you lose weight. You'll become stronger and you'll be able to achieve a lot of harder moves that you once thought that was impossible. For example, check out my client's Anatol's transformation from calisthenics beginner to achieving the muscle up within 2 years. That was amazing to witness, and he made a transformation that is long lasting up to this day. So if you're a beginner and or you need to lose weight, here are some very useful substitutions for the movement you may not be able to do yet. Let's start with the humble push-ups. If you can't do a real push-up yet, it's all good. Start in a plank. And from there, you try to do a negative repetition down, reach the chest to the floor, bring your knees to the floor, and then push back and go from there. Repeat that until you can get a real push-up. And if you can't do that yet, it's all good. You can just stay upright and do a push-up against the wall or a higher bar. Try to stay on your tiptoe when you do that. Bring your core in. Make sure that your whole body is tight and get started with the push-ups against the wall. That will be a great alternative to get started. And once you do that, you move on to the knee push-up. Now let's talk about pull-ups. Pull-ups are hard. They're hard for everyone. Even people that don't need to lose weight are having a hard time starting the pull-ups. So you are not alone. So if you can't do a full pull-up yet, try to find a bar where you can reach out without lifting your feet off the ground. That means that you're going to use your lower body for assistance, jumping off the ground with your feet and try to do a negative down as you descend. That's going to build a lot of muscles in your back, and that's going to create a real challenge for your overall body. Go as slow as you can on the way down, then jump back on the way up. If you can't do that, then move on to a resistance band pull-up and decrease the size of the band as you get stronger. You would just attach the band to the bar, then pull it down and put your foot in there so that it assists you to get up. And if a normal high overhead pull-up is not in your arsenal yet, you can also start with Australian pull-ups, the little decline pull-ups where you just find a low bar like a dip bar and then start you with your body inclined to the floor and you lift up like this and you build up until you feel that you're strong enough to do a dead hang. And once you get there, then you start with dead hang. You grab the pull-up bar and you try to hang for as long as you can. You secure your lats, you make sure that they're really nice and engaged as you hold, and you build up from there. Now let's move on to the dips. Dips are very hard, and just like for the pull-ups, you would start on a dip bar with your feet on the floor, and then you use your legs to jump up and control the negative down. Make sure that all your triceps and chest get really nice and tight, and then repeat that motion. Go slow on the way down, fast on the way up. And if you can't do those assisted dip bar yet, you can also start with the box dips. You just use a bench or a box, put your hands behind you, and go up and down as long as you can and make sure that those triceps feel the pump. And once you're strong enough with the box dips, you move on to the assisted dip bar. Now let's talk about squats. Lower body is essential and everybody should be able to do a squat. And if you can't do a proper full squat yet, same thing as the dips, you would start with the box or a bench. So you put the bench right behind you and then you descend in your squat, touch the box with your butt and come back up once you've touched the box. Repeat that and lower the height of the box as you get stronger. So you might start with a support that's a little bit higher than your knee level, for example. And once you get stronger, you get a support that's lower than your knee level so that you get more flexion in your knee. Once you get better at this, you just ditch the box altogether and start doing real squats. Now let's not forget about the abs. The core is an absolute essential body part and there's no way to skip it. So start with a hollow body on the floor. The hollow body is an essential calisthenics move and you can't skip it. Lay on the floor, bring your knees up and you can bend them in a 90-degree angle as long as you can hold your legs off the floor. Hold that position as long as you can. And once you get comfortable with this, then you start to add leg extensions. So from bented knees, you go to extended legs. And there's sections in the middle, right? So if you're here, then maybe your next step is here, then here, etc., until your legs get fully extended. And make sure that your entire muscle chain in there gets tight and together. So there you are. We covered a lot of exercises that will help you get started. Even if you can't do the full movements yet, there's definitely a lot of room for improvement and you can get started today, right now. We just talked about how to build muscle with calisthenics and that will boost your metabolism. So your muscle mass is essential, but let's not forget that we need to talk about the calorie game as well. If you have weight to lose, you need to be in a calorie deficit. You've probably heard it before, but that's a crucial step in the game. It simply means that you need to consume fewer calories that your body burns daily. First, you need to calculate your calorie baseline. And to determine your calorie needs, you just need to know what your basal metabolic rate or BMR. That's the minimum calories that your body needs to just function every day. And it depends if you're a man or a woman, but there's a formula to calculate that. I'll put it in the link below. And once you get that number, you just adjust it depending on your activity level. If you're very active or less active, that will eventually give you a number of calories that you should aim at consuming so that you can reduce your weight over time. Once you've created a calorie deficit, you need to keep it for long enough, but not too long. So aim for a calorie deficit that's between 300 and 500 calories. That's a rough number, but it usually works. Stay within a healthy bracket and don't do it for too long. 4 to 12 weeks is usually a good idea because if you do it too long, then it starts to be counterproductive. So include refeed days to help regulate your hormones and prevent metabolic slowdown. So we talked about building muscles, creating a calorie deficit, but now let's really not forget about cardio. There's really a very, very crucial thing, which is running. So ditch all the machines, the elliptical bike, the treadmill, and the indoor bikes because running is a natural human movement. We need to incorporate moderate to high intensity runs into our routine so that it creates an amazing fitness boost. So go for a run. Start at your level. Even if you can't run, just go for a walk. Start with 1 mile walk every other day or 2 to 3 times a week. That's a great way to gradually increase your cardio and speed up your pace as you get stronger. Some days you'll feel fast, some days not at all, and that's cool. No matter what, the consistency is what matters. So if you're not fast one day, it really doesn't matter as long as you go. So make sure that you know how to run. I'll put a link below to another article that I wrote on how to get better at running as well. Now, a little add-on here when it comes to cardio. I recommend that you also start to implement jump rope in your routine. Start with it in your warm-ups before your workouts. It works like wonder. It will boost your body like nothing else. And even if you're not really coordinated and can't do full jump rope yet, just mimic the jump rope. Imagine you're jumping rope even if you don't have a rope in your hands. That's really, really good to build stamina, to build resistance in your joint. So go for it. If you're overweight, don't do it for too long to save your knees, but get started nonetheless to just create a little bit of bounce and from there progress and work your way up. Now let's finish with a factor that a lot of people underestimate, and that's the importance of community. You need to build up a network around you that shares your passion, that shares your motivation, and that supports you in your journey. Invite friends, invite family members, even co-workers, whoever it is that is supportive around you and that helps you structure your day around your fitness goals. So don't forget about your community. Be the inspiration. If you don't have anybody around you that does work out, you can be the first. It always starts with somebody. Be that person and inspire others around you. So with all of these techniques, you will lose weight and you will get great at calisthenics, I guarantee. Calisthenics is a great way to start losing weight. It's a powerful way to get healthy and a lot stronger than you think. If you're trying to lose weight the natural way, then this video is for you. I'm Nicholas, the founder of Online Calisthenics, and today we're going to talk about how to lose 20 pounds forever in 3 to 6 months. First, let's be honest. Losing 20 pounds isn't rocket science. It's quite simple. You want to eat right, move more, and stay consistent. And the tricky part is actually sticking to the plan. The first thing you want to do is fire your metabolism with calisthenics. If you want to lose fat, you need a workout plan that actually works and builds muscles. So as a beginner, the ideal plan is to train every other day. You want to make sure that you alternate a training session with an active rest day and so on during the week. Make sure that every session includes a full body workout. You want to include a mix of pulling, pushing, legs, and core movement for each workout. You want to make sure to not leave any body part missing. And once you get more advanced, you can start mixing it up a bit differently. But here's a pro tip for beginners: never skip Mondays and train at least 3 times a week. Now, once you got your training under control, you want to really make sure that you got your nutrition under control. Abs are not made in the kitchen, but that's where they're revealed. So if you're serious about losing weight, you've got to own your own plate. And here is how. Start with the calorie deficit. Calorie deficit equals fat loss. You'll burn more calories than you eat, and you want to stick with it for 12 weeks, and the pounds will come off. Second, prioritize breakfast. You want to kickstart your day with something healthy and balanced. Go for protein and healthy fats. That's the best time of the day to eat them. Then you want to aim for something that resembles an intermittent fasting, and that's really simple. That only means that you will eat within a 10-hour window. For example, eating from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. works like a charm. Now after that, make sure that you don't eat carbs after 6 p.m. You want to let your body recover and digest properly. Less carbs means better digestion at night and better sleep overall. Now, the next thing is that you want to prioritize protein. You probably heard that before, but you want to eat 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight of protein daily. It fuels your muscles and keeps you full. Now, the other thing you want to do is mix up your protein sources. For example, you could eat red meat once a week, then chicken, some eggs, and some wild-caught fish as well. And make sure to prioritize small fish versus bigger fish. They usually show lower levels of heavy metals. Now, last but not least, you want to ditch all of the processed stuff. If it comes out of a package, it's probably not great for you. So prioritize single ingredient foods, and that will make a night and day difference. Cooking your meal isn't just healthier, it's empowering. You will control what you eat and how you feel, so aim to cook at least 80% of your meals weekly. Once you have your workout and your nutrition under control, you want to go to step 3 and make sure that you work on your cardio. Cardio isn't just about sweating buckets, it's about building endurance and improving overall fitness. And really, you only need a couple of cardio sessions per week. For example, you could go for a slow run where you keep it steady to build stamina. And then the other time you would go for a fast run where you do sprints and plyometric exercises to boost speed and torch calories. Once you covered workout, nutrition, cardio, make sure that you also cover recovery, because that's where the deal happens. You don't grow stronger in the workouts. You grow when you recover. And that's why a solid night routine is non-negotiable. So try to stretch before bed. Spend 10 minutes doing active stretches to loosen up your tight muscles, and make sure to sleep about 8 to 10 hours. Your body needs to recover, so sleep is a priority. Make your bedroom a recovery zone with no screens, no distraction. Just make sure to sleep there. Now let's go to step 5, and that would be hydration. It's water, water, and water again. It's really one of the most important and most dismissed aspect of fitness. So you want to drink at least 2 liters or half a gallon of water a day. It's a good average if you're active, especially during the hot days. It keeps your metabolism in check, it flushes your toxins, and supports your workout. Now let's go back to the initial statement. Your consistency is your guaranteed result. This plan will work. You just want to stick to it and you will lose weight. It's not a matter of if, it's about when. The only thing standing between you and success is your consistency. So don't let small setbacks happen. They might happen and it's okay. You will overcome them. Stay in your lane and the results will come. You don't need to be 8% body fat. And if you've been wondering what's the ideal body fat percentage, then that video is for you. First thing first, chasing a specific number of body fat as your ultimate goal can be a big misconception. Indeed, a more effective approach is to target a healthy body fat percentage bracket that includes your age, your gender, your overall health, your fitness background. Are you a complete beginner? Have you been overweight before? And here's a quick breakdown of body fat brackets that are sustainable for life. As a man, you want to range between 10 and 15% body fat. This zone is a good balance between aesthetics and optimal performance and well-being. You will feel good. As a woman, you can set your range between 15 and 20% body fat. It's very important to remember that women naturally carry more fat than men due to biological differences. So you can't have the same goals whether you're a man or a woman. Now, while being lean is very important, don't get me wrong, I always stress it out. It's very crucial to have a healthy body fat percentage throughout your entire life that really does impact your longevity. But there are pitfalls to having a very, very low body fat. And very shredded physiques always come with a downside whether we like it or not. While it's very impressive and it looks great, there are some drawbacks. The first one is decreased performance. If you have a super low body fat, it's very likely that you're going to perform less good than somebody who has a slightly higher body fat percentage. Indeed, your body requires a certain amount of energy to fuel your workouts and maintain your endurance. So there's a reason why boxers, after they've lost 20 or 30 pounds, they cut for the weigh-in, then they gain it back for the fight. That's because they feel a lot better when they have more fat on them. When you're a bodybuilder, it's very likely that when you're on stage, you feel the shittier that you've ever felt compared to when you're actually training. It's super likely that you're not going to perform as strongly in your lifts as well when you do that. You will look good, but inside it's not going to feel the same. So that leads to compromised mental health. Low body fat can impact negatively your mood and your mental health in general. Indeed, that does unbalance your hormones. They become affected and that leads to fatigue. You can become irritable and it's hard to focus sometimes. And last but not least, being too lean can lead to nutrition deficiencies and health risk. If you dip below a healthy body fat percentage, that can lead to malnutrition and that can weaken your immune system. It's just simply not sustainable in the long run. So if you aim to be sub 10% body fat for your entire life, you may want to reconsider and aim for somewhere between 10 and 15. A healthy approach is to build muscle, boost your metabolism, and keep a healthy body fat. That's the true secret of a healthy body. Really, it lies into your muscle density, how fast your metabolism is, and that means how fast your body burns fat. Muscle tissue burns more calories at rest, creating a natural fat burning machine. So this is where calisthenics become really an amazing tool for this. Every single calisthenics movement engages multiple muscle groups at the same time. We call it compound movement, and that promotes efficient muscle growth. That increases your muscle mass, which increases your metabolic rate, and that leads to natural body fat burning. The second thing is that calisthenics is super accessible and scalable. No matter what your current fitness level is, you can start today, right here, right now. Calisthenics requires absolutely no equipment. It makes your workouts readily available anytime, anywhere. You can adapt to your current fitness level, so you ensure that it's a constant challenge that keeps your metabolism accelerating and firing on all cylinders. And remember, your body fat journey is a commitment to progress, not to perfection. It will really depend. If you start overweight as a beginner, you won't have the same progress than somebody who's been athletic in their youth and that don't have that much weight to lose. That will create different goals and different speed or rate of progress, and that's okay. Here are some key strategies for you, and I guarantee they will work. First, be consistent. It is paramount. Building muscle mass takes dedication and consistency. Don't expect it to be overnight results. It won't, but it will happen over time. Second is cardio. There's no option to skip cardio. Whether you've heard it or not, it does matter. So my favorite cardio exercises are sprint, mid-distance running, and jump rope. You can do all of them or some of them. It will work. Do it as often as you can during the week. It's a great tool to burn fat and stay lean year long. Now let's talk about what you eat, because calorie deficit matters, and or calorie maintenance. That means that you can't overeat and you have to embrace healthy fat. They really make your body just function better. So think of things like avocado, nuts, olive oil, coconut oil. These are great options for fat, and you can never go wrong with those. Now let's keep talking about food, because healthy fats are very crucial. Don't skip them, but also prioritize whole unprocessed carbs. That's very important. Do not overdo carbs, but eat the good ones. So avoid all of the processed stuff, sugary drinks, the chips, the white bread. All of this is horrible and will spike up your blood sugar like nothing else and promote fat storage. So focus on whole unprocessed carbs like fruits, vegetables, sweet potatoes, or rice. Then last but not least, your stress level matters. When you're stressed, there's a hormone called cortisol that takes place in the body, and which goal is to store fat. So if you're storing cortisol as a stressed person, any exercise really will just be blank, because you might lose some body fat with your training, but really during the night your cortisol level is going to store more fat. So at the end of the day, your results is just going to be not great. So practice on relaxation techniques like meditation and prioritize quality sleep. I like to sleep 8 to 9 hours a night, and that's what keeps me going at almost 45 years old. Sleep is of the essence. So in a nutshell, focus on a good body fat percentage bracket that works for you, and don't stress over a single number that you may or may not reach. It really won't be the priority in your overall health. The goal is really to stay mobile, build muscle, boost your metabolism, and achieve a healthy body fat percentage that allows you to move and perform to the best of your ability and feel great. That really is a key element. So I hope that helps, and I will see you in the next video. If you're wondering how to get started with calisthenics as a complete beginner, then this video is for you. Today, I'm going to talk about the 5 most important movements in calisthenics. We're talking about the pull-ups, the push-ups, the dips, the squats, and the core hinge. So let's get started with the first and most important one, which is the pull-ups. The pull-ups is the king of all upper body movements. If you can't do a full pull-up yet, don't worry, there are plenty of progressions you can do. So let's dive into it now. Pull-ups are a challenge for anyone. Really, even if you're good at it, it's still hard because you try to achieve more of them. So you're not alone. Everybody thinks that pull-ups are hard. So if you're just getting started, here are 7 movements that you can practice in order to progress all the way up to the full pull-up. The first thing you want to practice is a standing pull-up. It's a single arm pulling movement, and it's as simple as it sounds. You stand up, you grab any post or a doorway, and you pull yourself towards the wall or the post, and repeat that enough times so that your back starts to feel tired and your back muscles grow over time. You repeat with each arm. Once you feel comfortable with the standing pull-up, then you move on to the Australian pull-up. The Australian pull-up is an horizontal pull-up, which you do with the bar that's low enough so you can pull yourself off the ground diagonally. And make sure that you feel your back as you're pulling. You can also pause at the top. Make sure to squeeze the back hard, release, and do it again. Once you've mastered the Australian pull-up, you can move on to the third movement, which is the dead hang. The dead hang requires a higher pull-up bar, which allows you to hang with your entire body weight. The goal is to be comfortable into hanging overhead, making sure that your scapula are nicely depressed, so a little bit down here, so that you get strength in your lats as you are hanging. Once you get good at hanging, let's say you can hang for 20 to 30 seconds, then you can start adding shrugs into that hang. So they're called hanging shrugs. This is getting even closer to the real pull-up. So that makes sure that you can shrug up and down as you're hanging and holding your whole body weight from the bar. And once you're able to do that progressively good, then you're getting really, really close to the pull-up. The next variation will be the assisted band pull-ups. That means you use a resistance band, you wrap it up around the bar, and then you pull it down and put your foot in there. And you start doing reps of pull-ups with this. You can start with a thicker band that assists you progressively, and then you lower the thickness of the band as you get stronger, so that would lower the resistance and increase your strength. And once you've achieved the pull-up with the thinnest band, then you're really an inch closer to the real pull-up. Then start to do it without any bands, and you will be achieving your full pull-ups. So in a nutshell, start with the movement that you can currently do and get really, really good at it. In terms of volume, try to go from 5 to 10 reps and do at least 3 to 5 sets every time you train that movement. Try to do that at least 3 times a week. Do that until you get very, very good at the variation you're training, and then move on to the next one once you feel comfortable. So that's about the pull-up. But now let's move on to the push-ups. Just like for pull-ups, there are 5 steps that you can use in order to get good at push-ups if you can't do a full repetition yet. This is a very humble movement, and believe it or not, but a lot of people are actually not doing it right. Even though it's the most universal training movement around the world, a lot of people are struggling with it. So let me show you what are the 5 elements in order to get good at them. First, there's the standing push-up. So just like for the pull-up, you can stand up against the wall and then starting to do push-ups against a wall. Make sure you tuck your elbows in, that you keep your shoulders down, and that you press through your chest and tricep and repeatedly try to get better at it. You can stand very upright in the beginning when you're a very beginner, and then try to lean in forward as you get better. Then once you start to get good at the wall push-up, then you can step up your game and go to the elevated knee push-up. So that means that you're going to just drop on your knees and find an elevated surface that you can press on. So it could be a bench, a bar, anything that you like, a chair. It doesn't matter as long as you have a little bit of height so that you can press from a higher point than the ground. It's going to be a bit easier than from the ground itself. Then once you master the elevated knee push-up, you can try to move on to the elevated push-up. So instead of being on your knees, you would just have your straight leg on the floor and try to get a repetition from that. So start with a height that's enough for you so that you can lower your body into it and repeat the movement until you're good at it and you can move on to the next progression. And the next progression will be going on the floor. So now we're not elevating our grips, and that's going to make your weight heavier or feel heavier as you go. And get good at those until you feel that you're strong enough to move on to the real full push-up. That would be the same thing, except your legs will be extended in the air instead of your knees being on the ground. And here are additional tips you can do within those 5 progressions. You can start adding planks as well, and you can do shrug push-ups, which is just a scapular push-up when you're in the plank. You're just moving your scapula, you're not going all the way down. You're learning how to move your scapula nice and strong. And just like the pull-ups, start with the variation you can currently do, get very good at it, and move on to the next progression. As far as volume, try to go for 5 to 10 repetitions and 3 to 5 sets at least, and do it at least 3 times a week to see real results. And remember that the key to the result is consistency. Be consistent and you will see results. Now let's move on to the dips. The dips are an essential movement as well because they will focus on your triceps, which are the most important muscles in your arm. So make sure that you build strong triceps to get good at calisthenics overall. The first thing you want to do with the dips is starting with the box dips. So basically you find a higher surface around your hip level, you put your hands behind you, and then you start going up and down with your triceps, making sure that you control the descent and come back fast. You want to make sure to master this because it will burn off your tricep in a great way, and it will allow you to move forward to the next progression. Here are a couple tips to get good at the box dips. Make sure that you sit on the edge of the bench, that your hands are not too far back so that you don't injure your wrist. Make sure that your fingertips are facing forward. Engage your core, and your legs position can vary. You can start with bent legs and flat feet on the floor, and then you can start with elevating your toes off the floor, so just planting your heels in there and extending your legs further forward as you progress to make it harder overall. Once you master the box dips, the next movement would be straight arm dip shrug. Stand on the parallel bars, straight arms, and as you're engaged into that hollow body, you make sure that you push the triceps to elevate yourself up and depress the shoulder down. And as you're here, you try to go shrugging down, shrugging up, shrugging down and shrugging up, keeping your arms completely straight and making sure that you burn off those triceps. Once you feel good with the shrugging dips, now it's time to move on to the walking dips. And this would be the same initial position where you stand tall and straight on the bar dips, and then you would move forward one arm at a time as if you're walking the bars, and you can go forward and backwards as well. That's a great way to get strong and to build support in your shoulders as you're moving. Once you're good with the dip walks, then you can move on to the assisted jump dips. So just like for a pull-up where you would jump off, it's the same thing. You start at the bottom of the dips on this one, feet on the floor, and then you use your legs to jump. From this assisted jump dips, you can reduce the amount of assistance you use by only using one foot instead of two. That would be a big deal. You can also use a resistance band that you wrap up around the bar, and so you can put your knees in there and use the band as an assistance just like you would for a pull-up. And the more you practice all of those progressions, the more you will feel comfortable doing dips in the long run. So make sure to practice the variation that you can currently do and get very good at it until you can move on to the next progression. As far as volume, try to go from 5 to 8 reps because they are very hard, and try to do 3 to 5 sets at least 3 times a week. We talked about the upper body, now let's focus on the lower body. And for this, the squats are the king of lower body exercises. They will build your strength, mobility, and they will really improve your quads, your glutes, and overall leg strength. So do it, but don't be fooled by their simplicity. They can be challenging, especially for beginners. Before we dive into the full squat, it's very important to understand that your squatting ability is going to depend on several factors, and one of them is your ankle mobility. Ankle mobility is very often lacking, and stiff ankles are everywhere. So make sure that you do exercises that flex the ankle forward so that your knee can drive forward as well, and that your squat can get clean and low. So do ankle dorsiflexion stretches, such as this one where you stand about a couple of inches from the wall and you bend your knee and try to get your knee to the wall without lifting your heel. And that's going to be a challenge. You're going to feel it in your ankles, and it's going to be a great way to get past a certain level of mobility to get better at squat. Now, in addition to those ankle mobility drills, let's start with the wall sit. That's the first thing you want to master. So lean against the wall with your knee bent at 90 degrees and hold this position for 20 to 30 seconds and gradually increase the hold time as you get stronger. Aim for 3 to 5 sets, and once you get good at those, move on to the next progression. And the next progression is nothing else than a box squat. So you find a box that's high enough so that you can comfortably squat down and sit on the box and come back up just after you touch the box. Try to make sure to not sit completely on the box because that would be setting off the next half of your movement. Aim for 10 to 15 repetitions of those box squats and try to do 5 sets total. As you progress, you decrease the box height. So maybe you were going to have to start with a box that's higher than your knees, and then you would little by little challenge yourself into falling down on a box that's lower than your knees. So by that, you will challenge your quads, improve your glute strength, and your overall squat capacity. Then once you're good with the box that's lower than your knees, then get rid of the box altogether. You would just do squats without a box. So go as low as you can, as long as your form is clean. Keep your back straight, don't round it, and come back up. Try to do anywhere from 5 to 10 reps and do 5 sets at least 3 times a week. So we talked about all the upper body movements. We talked about the squats, which is the king of lower body movements. And there's one key element missing here is our core. Don't forget that the core is an essential muscle. It makes the connection between your upper and lower body, your lower back and your hips. It's really the powerhouse of your body. And if it's lacking, everything else will be as well. So in order to hinge your core properly or fold your body in half, you want to start with a laying knee tuck hold. And it's as simple as just laying your back flat on the ground and then raising your legs into a 90 degree and hold it there. Trying to feel like your butt is coming off the ground slightly without jumping, without making any other effort than pulling your pelvis back and squeezing your glutes and your abs in there so that your legs stay up. Once you're familiar and comfortable with doing that static hold, then you can start doing small repetitions. So you would bend the knees down to the floor and then raise it back up and try to go up and down as often as you can and as long as you can to burn off those ab muscles until you feel comfortable with that movement. Then once you're comfortable with moving your legs in a bent position, then you would move on to an extended position. So you raise your legs, they're bent, and at your knee level, you try to extend out. So you feel that it's going to put a lot more weight on your core once your legs are extended. So complete as many repetitions as you can during each set and maintain that core engagement throughout the whole repetition. Once you're good with the knee raises on the floor, then you can move on to the parallel bar knee raises. So it's really the same movement. Instead of being laying down on the floor, you would just be perpendicular to the floor while standing on those parallel bars. And the motion is similar. You would have your straight legs hanging down while you're in the neutral position, and then raise your legs through your core, starting to bend your core and try to minimize your hip flexion. That way, you don't overuse your hip flexors. Make sure that you really engage your core before you lift your legs. So you bend your knees up, you hold it as long as you can, and then come down, and that's one set. Try to repeat that as long as you can. Try to go for 5 sets at the very least. Do that 3 times a week. Once you're good at this, then go for repetitions. So you lift your legs up, and instead of holding, you just come down and do it again. And so that is repetitions instead of just a static hold. Note that you can really, once you get good at these, you can mix those two. You can mix repetitions and static holds. That's actually a great way to get even stronger. Once you're good with the parallel bars, start with the hanging knee raises. And they're a little more demanding because they're going to challenge your grip. They're going to challenge your back as well. But this is the same idea. And hold it as long as you can. So it's basically a dead hang plus a knee tuck hold at the same time. Your body is going to get challenged. You're going to feel that your core is very, very active. Make sure to not overuse your hip flexors. And once you're familiar and comfortable with that hanging tuck hold, then you move on to the hanging knee raises themselves. So you start in a full dead hang, body completely straight, and then you raise your knees 90 degrees and come down and try to do that as much as you can. Once you start, try to go for 5 to 10 reps per set. Try to go at least for 5 sets and do that 3 times a week to get real results. So just like for the other movements, start with the variation that you can currently do. Don't jump ahead and try to go faster. Make sure that you master each progression before you move on to the next one. So there you are. We covered the 5 most important progressions for calisthenics. It will cover your upper body, lower body, and core section in a way that's going to really make you progress forever. It will build essential foundations and allow you to step up your game and get to the full repetitions that you've always wanted to do. Today, we are going to discuss how to build your own calisthenics routine. So I'm here to give you some tips for scheduling and planning your weeks and achieve the best results you can. Now let's dive into it. First, I highly recommend using full body workouts as often as possible, and especially if you're a very beginner. To make sure that you get a well-rounded training, I suggest dividing your sessions between pulling and pushing exercise along with some legs and core workout. You can always adjust the ratios and volume of this exercise within each session, but this is a solid starting point. For beginners, I recommend superset. That involves performing 2 exercises back to back with minimum rest. I would recommend a superset of pull-ups and push-ups and going from 10 to 1 on each exercise. And basically that would be doing 10 pull-ups followed by 10 push-ups. Then you would take a rest. Then you would do 9 pull-ups, then 9 push-ups, and so on until you reach 1 rep for each. And if you can't perform the basic movement yet, you're completely free to use alternative movements like knee push-ups or wall push-ups and Australian rows or band assisted pull-ups for the pulling exercise. And if you're wondering how to do those movements, I made a video for total beginners breaking down each movement right here. Now let's move on to the leg section. Once you've completed your pull and pushing exercises, take a 2, 3, even 5 minute rest before starting your leg workout. And this section consists of exercises like hip raises, lunges, squats, and rather than focusing on a specific amount of reps, we're going to use time here and aim for a minute of work of each exercise at least, and you can break it down into 2 sessions of 30 seconds for each exercise. If you can do 2 minutes per exercise, be my guest and go for that. Holding the last rep of each set can also provide an extra burn and contribute to long-term progress. Now at the very end of the session, we still have to work on our core, and that includes exercises like planks, Supermans, knee raises, dead hangs, or hollow bodies. And remember, that's just a template and a starting point, so you can customize it based on your preference, goals, and fitness level. And feel free to replace or add exercises as needed. Now that we've covered the workout templates, let's discuss how to plan your weeks. We're going to go over a 3 to 4 day workout split that allows for proper recovery and makes sure that each muscle group gets worked throughout the week. But let's start with the warm-up. Before every day of your workout, you want to warm up for at least 5 minutes. That includes light cardio like jogging, jumping jacks, or jump rope, and some mobility drills. So make sure that your hips, shoulders, and wrists are properly warm before you get into any training. Let's move on to day one. So after you warm up, day one would include a superset of pulling and pushing. So you can adapt. If you can do pull-ups, use an alternative. If you can do push-ups, use an alternative as well. But make sure you pull and push throughout that session. Then you move on to a leg exercise. And for this, we're choosing the squat for day one. Use an alternative or an easier variation if you can't do full squats yet. And then we'll finish with the core and we'll use simple planks. Now let's move on to day two. Same thing, warm up before the workout. And then we go for a superset of Australian rows or an alternative of it and dips, or an alternative as well. And for leg exercise, we're going to go for lunges. And then we'll finish with some core and use some planks and Superman holds where we alternate each other. Let's move on to day three. Day three, we start with the legs. And we're going to go for a superset of hip raises and squats. And you can do 10 reps of each just like you would for pull-ups and push-ups, except you work your legs. Then we move on to the pushing exercise for that day, which is push-ups or an alternative, and finish with the core with knee raises. Now, last but not least, let's go for day four. So I highly recommend you go for 4 days at a time. If you're very, very beginner and your condition doesn't allow it, start with 3, but try to add that 4th day as quick as you can. And after you've done your warm-up for the day 4, we're going to start with the superset of core. We're going to just start with dead hangs and hollow bodies. That's a really good combination to work your grip and core and make sure that you don't skip that body part through the week. Once you're done with your core, you can go for your pushing exercise like a dip or an alternative, and then finish with a leg exercise like a squat or an alternative. It's important to listen to your body and take rest days as needed, and make sure to go for something like 2 days on, 1 day off pattern. That's a great start. Throughout the year, you can also make adjustments because your body has to recover and goes through cycles, and keep making it challenging every 1 to 3 months. So once you get used to a routine, then change it up, tweak it up a little bit, make it a bit harder so that your body breaks a plateau. And last but not least, don't forget about the importance of nutrition and hydration for optimal performance and recovery. If you're a beginner and you start training, after 3 to 6 months, you're no longer a complete beginner. So make sure that your food and your water intake is proper so that you don't hit a wall. If you've ever wondered how long it takes to get results with calisthenics training, well, this video is for you. Today, we're going to break down the exact timeline of progress with calisthenics training. So let's get started. Well, first, there's the first 3 months. During that time, you will get what we call the beginner's gains. This is where you will train on your essential movements. So think of pull-ups, push-ups, dips, squats, and the hip hinge. So knowing how to use your core to lift your legs. If you can't do full movements yet, this is the time where you will learn the progressions to go towards the full movements. So if you can't do a full push-up yet, you can go down to a knee push-ups, for example. If you can't do a full pull-up yet, you can use a band for assistance or start with Australian rows. This is those 3 months where you start learning those foundations. Your body will start adapting to your routine. You will gain strength and stamina. You will solidify your foundations and learn all the little tricks on how to place your body in order to succeed with the foundations. In the meantime, you will start losing weight and you will get more toned as well. Then after 3 months, you will get used to those beginners progressions and you can move on to harder ones. So if you've been doing knee push-ups, maybe now you can do full push-ups. If you were practicing pull-ups with a band, then now you can probably start doing pull-ups without the band, maybe just one to get started. But this is where the real progress will start to materialize and feel tangible to you. Your form will get cleaner on all the compound essential movements. You will start to increase the volume of the movements that you can do, and you will physically feel the gains and start feeling little muscles that you didn't know you had before. You'll get muscle definition and toning, and you will keep losing fat if this is your goal. Then comes the interesting part. From 6 months to a year is really where you're going to start solidifying your foundation. So after a year of training, you should be able to do all the foundation calisthenics movements that we mentioned before, and that should start to feel more natural along the way. So you should be able to perform pull-ups, squats, dips, push-ups, and knee raises, and start to increase the volume of those foundation movements. Your body will have changed by now. Between the first month and the 12th month, you will see clear progression. Here are some examples of progression that you can have within a year. That's pretty realistic. A lot of my clients got it, and this is you in the future as well. Now, what happens after a year? This is where things get really interesting. From year 1 to year 3, it's going to basically be the essence of your progress. Now that you can master the foundation movements, you're going to try to step it up. So once you master the movements we talked about, now it's time to increase the gains and step up to harder movements. From year 1 to year 3, you will start implementing harder movements such as the handstands, the muscle up, and maybe start to touch on the front and back levers towards year 3. Then after 3 years, this is where you stepped your game up. So that means that you're able to do all the foundation movements with a high volume, maybe around 15 pull-ups or more, maybe 30 push-ups or more, and so on. And basically you became a master at foundations and you started to dab into harder movements. Now it's time to step up your game again. So within year 3 and 5 is where you will keep implementing harder and harder movements. Maybe you will start doing human flags. Maybe you will start to dab into the planche and so on. After year 5, here you are. You mastered the foundations. You now master more advanced movements. And this is where refining happens. Refining is where you can do most of the movements in your calisthenics spectrum, but you detect little techniques that are missing. So maybe your ribs are not really placed properly on each movement. A lot of time, pull-ups are not exactly symmetrical. We tend to over pull on the strong arm and under pull on the weak arm. So this is where you're going to start balancing things out and notice the little things in your body that needs to be corrected and improved along the way. Remember, that's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Calisthenics is a long-term game. So don't be frustrated if you have things to work on, because this is the whole point. As you keep working on these things, you will get better and better. So now we've passed year 5. So from year 5 to year 7, you will do that. Adjustments, refining, getting better. And then year 7 is where mastery happens, really. You became really fully aware of your body. You keep fine-tuning the little things, and this is where you can start helping others. This is where you keep refining your body as you're mentoring others to pass on your knowledge, and make sure that your techniques are valid. If they work for others, then that means you're on the right path. And really, this is not the end goal either, because after that, once you start mentoring others and refining your skills, you can start implementing other sports that are connected to calisthenics. Think of rock climbing, martial arts, parkour, and so on. Really, even running. All of the bodyweight sports are now accessible because you master your own muscle chains, you have better technique, you don't feel any pain when you move. So really, the sky is the limit. Every sport is accessible, and you can start getting better at those as well. So start training smart after year 7, because this is where the fun begins, really. Make sure you don't get injured, and if you have little aches and pains, then make the time to make those disappear, replace your body, make sure that the alignment is clean and that all your movements are as good as possible. And you will see there is no limit to this game. It's always about refining technique after you've mastered the essential movements. So if you're ready to take your training to the next level, I have dozens of programs, hundreds of videos, and I've helped thousands of people over the last 10 years. So feel free to reach out, click the link below, and I'll see you in the next video.